how do we put into words what can't be explained with words? This question, in one form or another, has been asked by every enlightened man or woman throughout time. And the answer is, you do the best you can. And those who are on the path will be able to understand what it is you are saying, and then take what you are saying and evolve their own understanding through your communication. So that is what I seek to do when I speak about anything. But some things are explainable with words. This, however, is not. The mechanics, the mechanism for how reality, consciousness function. What does it look like? What is really occurring? How is it occurring? These things can only be explained in a incomplete fashion, an insufficient fashion. However, I do know that this can do a great service to those who desire to know, desire to understand. What we must realize is that physical reality, anything that has form or shape, not just this three-dimensional density of matter, is the means for which consciousness experiences and evolves through experience. Consciousness manifested the physical reality into existence for this to unfold infinitely, okay? Meaning that there are infinite, individual, sovereign expressions, extensions of consciousness, otherwise known as souls, experiencing an infinite variety of experience, and hence cultivating an infinite range of evolution. This is done through free will, through our choices. Not everything is experienced by choice. However, every choice brings an individual into any experience. So while you may not choose to experience X, Y, and Z experience, the choices you made led you to that experience, put you into the position to have that experience. Then what you do with that experience, what you choose to make of it, is your choice. This is how reality works on a fundamental level in relation to consciousness and the individual fractal of consciousness, all sharing the reality, the fundamental foundational reality of experience. We are all built on the same foundation. Our house of ourself, our house that is ourself, we all each have the same foundation, which is we are all consciousness, awareness. Fundamentally, through our experience and evolution, we have become our own unique expression of consciousness, forever different from any other. We have experienced and perceived reality from a completely different point of view and dimension than any other expression of consciousness. And each individual's unique experiences, perceptions, evolutionary journey, it all adds together to create the totality of evolution that consciousness itself, without any individual identity, is experiencing. Consciousness itself is perceiving, experiencing, and evolving through each and every one of us. It's very simple, really, but it will tend to stretch one's mind to the point where it becomes difficult to hold it together because of the totality of it and the seemingly paradoxical nature of it, right? How can each of us be consciousness, but only be our own individual expression of it at the same time? Again, it's very simple. That is what the fractalization concept and reality is. It essentially is like an infinite ocean of water being poured, being channeled into a particular cup or a river, if you like. And while we are all water, we are each our own body of water. That is one way to explain it. Now, I just want to help bring some clarity to certain terms and words. Spirit. Spirit refers to the oneness that is consciousness, that is awareness. The soul is the individual expression of spirit. So whenever you hear spirit, that is what is being referred to. That is the difference between soul and spirit. So when people use the mind, body, spirit, I find this to be inadequate. It really should be spirit, soul. Mind and body are interchangeable. The mind is the means by which the body can be operated by the soul. The soul is, I will not say inhabiting the body. The soul becomes the body. But if the body dies, the soul goes on. So you can see why it's very difficult to put these realities into words. What's really happening is the body, including the mind, is essentially a physical reflection of the non-physical soul. The DNA is the physical expression of the soul, and the DNA makes up the body. It is through the mind that the soul has a command center to act through the body. And this is the spiritual science, for lack of a better term, of how incarnation and evolution really take place. We have to understand that consciousness is completely non-physical. It has no physical existence. This is very difficult for people to wrap their minds around. Consciousness is the non-physical awareness, perceiver, that thinks, that acts, and it does so through the physical. It uses the physical mind to think and to dictate actions that the body carries out physically. It happens first in the mind. And while the brain is physical, the mind is, it really is another word for soul, which is why the mind, body, spirit Trinity does work. I just find it to be unclear because people associate the mind with the body, and it is in this form, but when the body dies, the soul, the mind carries on and just moves on to another body. This is why it is fundamental to break down these terms and words, because people throw them around, willy-nilly, and just think that, they're just words. It doesn't matter which ones we're using, but it does matter if we're going to be truly clear, if we're going to truly find clarity. So, the physical reality, many will call an illusion. So we need to analyze this. What is illusion? Okay, well, ironically, right? If we're going to define illusion as something that is, it appears to exist in objective reality, but it actually doesn't. If that's how we're going to define illusion, well, then we have to define objective reality. What is objective reality? Is that the reality of this physical realm that we perceive and exist in? Or is it what is essential? What is prime? Because without this physical realm, consciousness would still be. It always has been. It always will be. That is why God is referred to as the Alpha and the Omega. It is the beginning and the end. It has no beginning and end. So, if we're going to define illusion on those grounds, technically, everything that was manifested by consciousness is illusion, right? And yet, as we define real, right? We define real as that which can be objectively experienced. I reach down and touch this grass. I can say that grass, that experience of the grass is real. So how can it be an illusion? Well, that's the problem with words. The way that we perceive them and define them is, at the very least, incomplete. More often than not, completely wrong. The true reality of illusion is that this does not mean that's just because something is an illusion does not mean that it isn't real. It can mean that. And that is why we need to be able to define the differences between different varieties of illusion, different contexts of illusion. We need to be able to distinguish and discern the differences between what is perceived as illusion by this group of people or this person and that group of people and this person, because everybody's got their own subjective ideas of what these things mean, and we need to boil them down to objective realities. So, in the sense of what is prime versus what is not, all physical reality is an illusion. But the physical illusion is quite real. It's quite real. Now, let's take a look at what exists within this physical illusion. Exists in the brains of people in this physical illusion. For example, what about money? Money, politics, religion. What do all these things have in common? They do not exist outside of the brains, the perceptions of individual and hence collective people, a collective group of people. Every single person could be in the world, could be standing on the same field of grass, reach down and touch it and verify. 7 billion out of 7 billion could verify that this is indeed grass, right, as we define it. But you get those same 7 billion people, and you'll be lucky if you can get 20% of them to collectively agree on something that's believed. Religion being the best example, next to politics. You'll probably have at least 5 to 6 billion very different, extremely different, polarizingly different points of view on those beliefs, on those imagined realities. What is the difference between a tree and the Republican Party? The tree was there. The tree preceded anyone's brain or perception, their thoughts and beliefs. So in this context, the tree is not an illusion. The Republican Party is an illusion. Do you see? But if we are comparing this tree to consciousness, this tree is indeed an illusion. The Republican Party is not real. The tree is real. The tree may be an illusion in the primal perspective, but it is very real. I can touch it. If I slam my head against it, I will profusely bleed. You cannot slam your head against the Republican Party. The only thing that makes the effects of this idea real is the collective belief that it is real. So enough people believe in political parties to build an entire system in society that revolves around them, creating very real effects. The effects of these ideas, of these illusions, are real. The illusions, the ideas, they are not real at all. They are entirely non-existent. The perceiver, the awareness that is consciousness who comes up with these ideas is real. So what's the difference between the ideas and the manifestations of physical reality that is this tree and this grass? Well, I just went over that, but I'll say it again. Objectively, every single person can put their hand on the tree and identify that as a very real thing that they are touching. No, the word tree is not real. It's just an idea. It's just a label. But the reality that it is labeling is very real. The Republican Party is an idea. Only an idea. And it is through that idea, when collectively believed in, that effects are brought into physical manifestation, not the idea itself. I mean, this sounds like very fundamental kindergarten stuff, but really, I mean, it's this information, these understandings that will free people. Well, I should say, illuminate them so that they can free themselves. I mean, it sounds so simplistic, and it is, but the fact is that people are so immersed and identified with illusion, true, unreal, no basis in anything other than ideas, made up ideas, non-reality. That's where people are stuck in, caught in, looped in. And so it is through understanding these basic things that sovereignty and freedom can be truly understood and cultivated. Now, this brings us to feelings and emotions. Experiences that take place within an individual's mind, an individual's brain, I should say, body, such as what we define as love, fear, anger, hatred. Are these things illusions? Well, in comparison to the prime perceiver, creator, as we've said, everything is illusion. So, should we say, are these things real? Well, as is the belief in a political party, if it is believed in, these things, even though we cannot physically experience them in the sense that I was describing with a tree or grass, these things are very real. to the individual. In fact, if you brought together a collection of individuals and asked them if these emotions, these feelings, these experiences are real or not, you would most likely get a consensus. You might not get a unanimous consensus, but you will get a pretty convincing one. So, what does this mean? Well, it means that the experience of feelings, of emotions, are very real. Even though we cannot see them, we can see their effects through people's actions, their behavior. But it is very difficult to define emotions and feelings with words as individual expressions, meaning defining something as love, fear, hatred, anger, and just the phenomenon of emotions and feelings altogether. Defining them is very difficult. How can we describe them? I would describe feelings and emotions as I am attempting to come up with the words. I would define them as, many say energy in motion, emotion, and that's fair enough. I mean, everything is energy, vibrating energy. Physical matter, no matter how solid it feels and seems and appears, it is moving on a atomic level. So just calling emotions energy in motion is too broad of a description, because technically everything is energy in motion. But what I will say is that emotions, feelings, they are the responsitory movements of the soul. Because no two souls are going to share the exact same feelings and emotions. Even if two people are in love with the other, right? Or two people just love each other intimately, they will each experience that feeling, that experience differently, because they are different people. Even if they experience it in the exact same intensity, if they love each other, if they care for each other equally, they will still experience it differently by proxy of being a different person from the other. So we cannot say that emotions and feelings are the responsitory movements of consciousness itself, because we are individuals. Now, if we know what we're saying right, if we understand that when we say that, responsitory movements of consciousness, we could say that. But we're trying to be very specific here. Because once you understand what consciousness actually is, then you realize that everything, every manifestation of physical existence is a movement of consciousness. Now, the key word here is responsitory. That's the key. So, emotions and feelings are the responsitory movements of consciousness, of the soul. responsitory to its own creation. Everything in the physical realm is a manifestation, a creation of consciousness in order to experience. And through the experience of this realm, responsitory internal movements occur. And this is what we call emotions and feelings. Thoughts are not necessarily responsitory. Thoughts can be created in response to nothing in particular. But it works both ways, of course. When something happens to you or someone says something to you, this will provoke a thought. Whereas feelings and emotions, they are always in response to something. Always. It may not be something that we can look at outwardly and define, but it is always a response. It may be solely an internal process. You think something and you feel something. Or you are in a certain state of perception and consciousness, and you feel something. This is the whole idea, right? Emotions and feelings are they are essentially the feedback system. You are creating your own experience in this reality, and your feelings and emotions are there to guide you, to guide where you take your experience through your thoughts and your choices. We do not have control over our emotions and feelings. We only have control over how we perceive them, how we respond. We're not supposed to have control over our emotions or feelings. This would defeat their purpose. This is what intuition is all about. The word intuition. Feelings. That's what intuition can be boiled down to. We cannot logically have intuition. Now, we can logically process our intuition, our feelings, but we cannot have intuition. We cannot experience feelings through logic and the brain. They have to be experienced. I mean, everything is experienced through the brain, right? That's just the way that the mechanics work. But what I mean is that we cannot experience our emotions through our thinking, which happens in the brain. It has to be felt and experienced with the totality of ourselves. We as a soul, and our brain and our body. It has to be a holistic experience. Thoughts should be experienced in a holistic way also. In the sense that when we think, we should be able to experience what we think in the totality of ourselves also. But the difference is we cannot generate our emotions and feelings through our mind like we can our thoughts. We can trigger certain emotions and feelings through what we think and perceive, but we are not the creator of our emotions and feelings. If we were, well, then we would always it wouldn't be intuition, because we would always be creating thoughts and feelings in the vein of how we think and perceive, rather than what actually is. And this is again, it comes back to the intrinsic and fundamentally necessary fact of reality, that things do work and they exist as they do objectively. And we need to be able to align our perception so that we understand objectively what is objective. And that will put us in the best position to perceive, think, and experience our feelings and respond to them in an optimal way for both ourselves and for other people. This puts us in the best position so that we can maximize our potential. This is evolution. This never stops. There's never a stopping point. But there is a certain point, a threshold that we reach, where we are perceiving ourselves and reality clearly enough on a fundamental level. Once we reach this point that can be defined, it greases the wheel of evolution. Whereas until we reach that point, it's like it needs some serious WD-40. Like, the road is so rough. So much rougher than it is when your wheels are turning properly, smoothly. Or when, instead of the road being a bunch of, broken gravel with potholes everywhere, it's a smooth, freshly paved road. That's the difference between being at this threshold in perception and not being there. It does not stop there. That's the beginning, really. I mean, the true beginning. Until that point, you're just kind of stumbling through life. Things are just happening to you mostly. You're not in control of what you can be in control of. And that's the other thing I wanted to talk about, was control. We only have control over what we have control over. And what is that? Ourself. We do not have control over anything or anyone else but ourself. What we think, how we act, how we behave, how we respond, that is our power. And we have immense power, because once we take as complete control over ourselves as possible, when we are not dominated by the brain's programming or our feelings and emotions, that is when we have the most power to change things around us. Because we have the clarity to know what it is that we need to do, and to know how to do it, and then to do it. When we speak to people, when we interact with people, we have the ability to speak and act in a way that has the most likely chance of benefiting them, of catalyzing them to take control of themselves. We cannot do it for them, and that's the point. But each of us are here to help another person take control of themselves, whether we know it or not, whether that's what we want or not, whether we're doing something, benevolent or malevolent. That is what everything is pushing towards. Evolution is, on the level that we're discussing, evolution is the push for the individual to become sovereign, truly sovereign, in command over oneself. And then from there, evolution is what you do with your control. You in particular, what is your particular path that you will take with the control you now have? And that never ends. It's an infinite journey. And you know what? In the course of an infinite journey, you will reach a point where you eventually lose control. Where it's beaten out of you. When you don't remember. And that's where we are now. But like once it's discovered again, I mean, it's within your control. Whether it happens again. But odds are that it will. Because there's infinite potential. Anything can happen forever. So the odds are that it will occur again. But the whole idea is that once you return back into center, back into control, you will be even more evolved, a better version of yourself than you were the last time. And this happens repeatedly forever. This is reality. This is how it works. This is what it's all about. People walk around asking, what's the purpose of life? Why are we here? What is the point? I just told you. And this isn't my opinion. This is fact. This is foundational, fundamental, simplistic fact. And that's what truth is. It's simple. Only our diluted and distorted minds, brains, and perceptions make it seem like anything else. Make it seem so complicated. Is reality complex? Yes. Oh, yes. Infinitely complex. But complex and simplicity are not opposites. Complicated and simple are opposites. Something can be very complex but very simple. Look at the human being. Like the way that we are wired, the way that we're put together is very complex. But in totality, it's very simple. An individual can be very complicated. But that is all through the brain and the perception. As they truly are, they are as simple as it gets. They are awareness. Their own expression of awareness, which to another person may appear very complicated. But to them, it may be very simple. Or to them, it may be very complicated because that's where their perception is. It's all part of it. But it's all part of the simple purpose. And that purpose is experience and evolution. That's the point. On an individual and by proxy a collective level. Because each individual is just an agent of prime consciousness. We are all our own expression of prime consciousness. And that is the prime directive. Whether we know it or not, whether we're aware of it or not, it does not matter. But when we do become aware of it, that is when the experience takes on a whole other level of profoundness, of meaning, of enhancement, of elevation, of potential. It's all awakened when we awaken. It's always there, waiting to be, the flower is always there waiting to be watered. The sun is always shining. We wake up every day because the sun is shining down on this planet, enabling us to wake up every day. All we have to do is water ourselves. Water the seed that is our potential, because the sun will always be there to provide. It's light. It's always going to be there to give us the certainty of existing. We have to take the next step. It gives us the the opportunity, we have to take advantage of it. It is the door. Existence is the door. We have to walk through it. That's what it's all about. It's all about making the choice. That's what it is. Choice. Making the decision to desire to know, to have the courage, in spite of the fear of the implications and the gravity of it, to know, and then the willpower to actually know, to be unafraid to know, the willpower to be able to see through the distortions, to be able to have the humility so that we never fall into traps of illusion in perception and belief. To be okay with not knowing until we can know, or till we do know. There's no room for belief. There's only uncertainty and certainty. And being uncertain, it may sound unattractive, it may sound unappealing, it may sound frightening, but the fact is that it's only from uncertainty can we be certain. And once we're certain, we will still be uncertain. It is that forever ebb and flow of certainty and uncertainty, the known and the unknown. And there will always be both, but there must be a fundamental understanding in order to move forward in any meaningful way. In order for evolution to truly unfold and to mean what it can. And if we simply just dismiss and antagonize and ostracize those who come to the table with certainty, we are simply afraid of the truth. This does not mean that we just take what people seem to be certain of at face value and say, yes, absolutely, just because they are certain. No, this is not what it means. It means that we work together. That's what it means. It means each of us have something to offer from our experience and our evolution to make things clearer for both people, for all people. This is the point. Everything can be boiled down to the prime directive. Experience and evolution. When we experience someone else and their sense of certainty, what they know, what they don't know, and we share with them and they experience what we know and what we don't know in our sense of certainty, and we both approach each other and the experience of each other and the experience of reality together with not the cliche open mind, but with the genuine desire, the genuine courage and the genuine willpower to know what we don't know and want to know what we don't know, and to be confident in what we do know, but be willing, be humble enough to know that maybe what we think we know could be enhanced, could be further developed, or perhaps that there is something incorrect or wrong about what we think we know. The context is off. The perspective is incomplete. This is what evolution is all about. This is what reality is. Consciousness experiencing itself infinitely, forever, through individual expressions of itself. Both as that individual in and of itself and through other individuals as that individual. It's truly, there's no words. Once you understand this, there are no words. This is the best I can do. I'm sure I could do better, but in this moment, this is the best I can do. And I look up at the sun and I feel its warmth and I just, this is it. This is it. A star giving us the physical warmth so that we can light our own fire of ourselves within us and feel that warmth and share it. Experience it and share it. Let it evolve you. Use it to help evolve other people. Use it to want to evolve society. Just from where you stand. This recording was not to go into our world as it is, people as they are, but I know how powerless we feel. I feel so powerless because I am. I have no power over the collective. I only have power over me and what I come face to face with through my choices every day. And that's the only place I can make a difference. And people are so far from being at that threshold that I described earlier that's necessary for a society, for example, to evolve collectively, that we have to come to terms with the fact that it's going to take truly core-shaking, reality-altering events, consequences to transpire in order for people to move close enough to that threshold to where things can change and will change for the better. For the betterment of all. For the self and for all. And we have to know this, and we have to accept this and prepare for this accordingly. We have to be able to take the big picture understanding of things. We have to be able to take the fundamental foundational understanding of things and see the reality that we live in on this planet through that perception. And if we do that, we will be honest with ourselves, and we will see just how, for a lack of a better word, fucked it really is. How fucked people are. And as much as it doesn't seem like it's okay, because from the point of view that we perceive from, it's not. But in the grand scheme of things, it is where they are in their evolution. And they are going to manifest the consequences from that position, from that point of view, from that perspective, from that perception that will usher in what is necessary in order for them to understand where they are, where they've been, and where they need to go. And if they take that opportunity that comes with that reality transpiring and make the most of it and understand what it's really there for, why it really happened, what power they really do have, then reality will, this world will be healed through their healing. If they don't, it'll happen again. And again, and again, and again, and again. Forever. And this is what we must know, that it never stops. That we can only do what we can do where we are. We can only take what we know and what we feel and do with it what we can from where we are. And if we do that, all of us, if we really do that, we certainly make it easier for the rest of the people on this planet to do the same. But it's up to them whether they do it or not. And that's that. It's up to them. And if you ask me, they won't make that choice. They will be broken by what happens as a result of their collective perception and choices over the last however many thousands of years. And we'll have to do it again. We'll have to go around the merry-go-round again. I'm not saying that this is what will happen. This is just how I see it. This is my opinion, based on what I see. But I don't know everything. And that's why I say it's an opinion and not knowledge, because I don't know. We shall see. We shall see. But I'll tell you this. If we play this game and we get caught in the shitstorm that they will create, that they are creating, that they have been creating with them, as we move forward into these more and more intense and overt stages of decay and chaos, disarray, I'll tell you what, we won't be in the position that we need to be in when it finally subsides, and whatever happens, and wherever we are. We won't be in the position to be able to guide things forward in the direction that we want them to go in and that they need to go in. So my advice to anybody listening to this is to get real assets. Forget money, forget paper money. Forget all of these constructs that are going to come crumbling down because they are not real. And put them into what is real. And that is land that you can use to live on as safely and as self-sustainably as possible. Animals that you can build a farm with, that you can treat right and thank them and bless them and have gratitude for them and the nutrition that they provide for you. Your family, invest in them. Having children, self-sustainability, that's what needs to be invested in. As much security and freedom as you can provide for yourself apart from all of these inevitably doomed to fail constructs. That is my advice to you. Pull all of your money out of these constructs, out of these corporate megalomaniac giants that only seek to siphon your essence and power from you and put it into yourself, into things that will enhance you and put you in the best position possible. Get a land on top of an aquifer with unlimited water, all the farm animals you can get, growing all the foods you can, all of the naturally powered technology like solar panels and wind power, everything that's available to you. Take all of your money, all of your worthless money, and make it worth something by exchanging it for true, tangible assets and value. That's my advice. Continue to develop yourself and evolve. Have the desire, the courage, and the willpower to always become a better version of yourself, to have a more complete and enhanced understanding of reality, of people, of yourself, of the situation that we're in, everything, the totality of it, always. Make the truth, make your evolution, make what's best for yourself, for your family, for people, your number one priority. Make practicality your number one priority. What you can practically do with what you know. All right, I've crossed an hour. I didn't even intend for it to go over 30 minutes. I understand that people are busy, that they don't have time to listen for hours on end. So I will stop it here. And if you enjoyed this, if you got something out of this, if this changed something for you, if this motivated you to do something, let me know. Leave a comment. I'll put my email in the description below this video if you want to talk to me directly. Thank you. Stay vigilant, stay strong. Own the situation. Take control of what you can to the best of your ability. Cherish and appreciate what you have in this world that most people would kill for. Be the best version of yourself. Understand where we really are and where we're really going and what we can do, and do it.